Okay. We're good.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Could you do a voice call, voice roll call, please?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Rebecca,
Present.
Eric,
Present.
Martha,
Here.
Dimitri.
Good morning, Kathy. Dimitri's here.
Morning. Good morning. Secretary Walsh,
Here.
Nancy,
Here.
Matt,
Here.
Rena.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi. Thank you, everyone.
Is that all of us? Great. Okay, good morning. Then the first item of business is the approval of the meeting minutes from May 11th. I'll entertain a moment to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Okay, I heard Kathy and Dimitri second. Thank you.
Okay. Here we go. Rebecca,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Martha,
Yes.
Dimitri,
I'll abstain.
Secretary,
I'll abstain.
Nancy,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Rena. Rena,
Sorry, I put myself on mute. Yes.
thank you, everyone.
The next item on the agenda is the executive director's report, and I'll take a deep breath while Audrey talks.
Good morning, Secretary and members of the board. Welcome. Before we get into the business of today, I want to make a note that we have said farewell to our board member, Keisha Omar Jack, who is stepping down from the board. We are sad to see her go. It really was a joy to have Keisha on the board, and we greatly valued her insight and the energy she brought to our discussions and our work. We will, of course, keep the board updated going forward regarding her replacement, which will be appointed by the Attorney General. In terms of business today and throughout our organization, the MassHealth redetermination process continues to be the top priority of everyone here at the Health Connector. It is still very early days, but you'll hear today that the early activity and behavior we are seeing is relatively positive. Operational and customer service stability have ruled the day, and we are exceeding new enrollment forecasts. That said, we are very early in the process, and it is too soon to draw lasting conclusions. We are tracking sobering national news as other states moving earlier and more quickly report large numbers of people losing coverage. Strategies, timelines, and population priorities and other factors differ on a state-by-state basis, so it will take some time to get a clearer picture of how the process is going nationally. Here in Massachusetts, we are about to enter a new stage as MassHealth terminations begin to pick up, and more people are notified that they're losing MassHealth eligibility and may become newly eligible for a connector plan. While we have been planning for months and months for this moment, what will matter now is execution. We expect to be able to manage increases in activity across the board as we enter this next phase of the process. As we report out on redeterminations, I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the strength of the partnerships we have with key counterparts here. Our partnership with MassHealth has never been stronger. We are in tight alignment and close contact at every level of our organizations across teams. As many residents make their way from MassHealth to the Health Connector, both programs are laser focused on making sure one hand is talking to the other, and our strategies tick and tie together to keep focused on that North Star of coverage preservation. I also want to lift up and acknowledge the hard work of our partners at Healthcare for All, who are executing with community partners what I'm confident is the strongest ground game in the country on person-to-person engagement. Their door knockers have already knocked on 236,350 doors and had 48,426 conversations with Massachusetts residents. We know we all have a long and uphill and complicated climb ahead of us, but we feel grateful to be in the trenches with the partners we have up and down MassHealth and Healthcare for All's teams. And at the Connector, we're continuing to push ourselves to exhaust every type of outreach, operational, and policy tool we can think of to maximize the number of people we can migrate into Health Connector coverage or keep covered in some other way. We're grateful to our board and stakeholders who support the fulsome, all hands on deck approach we're taking for our readiness. In the meantime, there is quite a bit going on in the health landscape here in Massachusetts that we're involved in. This has been a very busy few months for our carriers, and we appreciate their diligence during a period that has required significant flexibility and new activity on their part. Last month, we received seal of approval responses from all of our carriers, and we'll provide you details on that at our July board meeting. The process for this 2024 seal of approval includes the onboarding of all on-marketplace carriers into the Connector Care program, along with some updates to related network and service area rules. We recognize and appreciate that this took extra effort from carriers as they prepared their submissions and prepare for the upcoming plan year. Additionally, the Division of Insurance's new rate filing process started last month, with carriers needing to file rate changes for 2024 plans several months earlier than in years past, and also for the first time providing details justifying those rates in a public, transparent capacity. A hearing is scheduled for next Wednesday, and we intend to participate to support this expanded collaborative process with DOI and carriers to improve the rate filing process through more transparency and public dialogue around the rates that get passed on to Massachusetts residents, including, of course, the hundreds of thousands of residents served by the connector. We also continue to stay in close contact with Point 32 in regard to the cyber attack that impacted Harvard Pilgrim and its members. Point 32 continues to keep us closely apprised as it incrementally turns back on parts of its system, and we have developed back office processes to ensure member changes and additions are processed appropriately. On the support front, last week, Compass Medical, a provider network based on the South Shore, suddenly announced its closure, leaving many of its 450 employees without health coverage. We were able to coordinate to collect contact information for affected employees and are actively outreaching them to provide individualized assistance and help enroll them into coverage immediately. We are also bringing to bear a variety of resources like webinars with employees and connections to navigators to help support these residents into coverage. I want to thank my colleagues who leapt into rapid action to assist these residents during a time of duress and confusion. During today's meeting, we will be asking the board for approval of a number of new contracts. To provide additional customer service during the MassHealth redetermination process, we're seeking to add Maximus to our operations apparatus as a second vendor, specifically to help support outbound phone calls and paper processing as needed. We are seeking a new contract with ASG, who has provided outreach and communication support to the connector since 2016, to continue our work to connect with and enroll populations with high rates of uninsurance, while creating messaging to new populations for targeted outreach. Finally, we are asking your approval to renew our work order with McInnis Consulting for data architect services, including systems development, systems analysis, and data warehousing and reporting design. Lastly, we will provide an update on Health Connector for Business. We want to ensure the board continues to be apprised of our small group platform and its work. And we also realize for many of you, this is something of an introduction to our work to serve the small businesses of the Commonwealth, which often flies under the radar in the public dialogue about small businesses and healthcare costs. We're looking forward to your thoughts on moving forward and delivering affordable coverage to Massachusetts small businesses and their employees. It is a full agenda, and we are eager to get into these topics with you all. So with that, I will hand back to the secretary.
Thank you, Audrey. And I want to echo the thanks of EOHHS and particularly the Medicaid program. Every time I get briefed by Mike Levine, he said, "Oh, I have to talk to Audrey about that," or "I'm talking to Audrey about that." So it really is a very close partnership, which I think will benefit all of us. But I think your point about the next couple of months are going to be choppy is also well taken, and the board should appreciate that. Before we move on to our next agenda, are there any questions for Audrey or any member of the team on where things stand? Okay. Did I wait long enough? I never know. Okay. The next agenda item is a presentation on an update to MassHealth redetermination and enrollment transitions, which is timely, and that will also include a board vote to authorize the executive director to enter into an MOU with Maximus Human Services. And the presenters are Melissa Woltman, Patricia Grant, and Jason Leverts. Thank you, guys.
Great. Good morning, everyone. We're back before you this morning to share updates on the MassHealth redetermination process. We're continuing to see member movement, and we'll share detailed updates on enrollment, outreach, and member supports, including a vote on supplemental call center staffing. So far, we've seen nearly 8,000 people join Health Connector coverage since protections ended in April, reflecting about 23% of the overall population that's lost MassHealth coverage but now qualifies for a Health Connector plan. As we noted last month, this is a very proactive population, people who either responded quickly to the renewal form they received or have completed their renewal requirements even before they received their blue envelope in the mail. Right now, these enrollments are exceeding our forecast for June, but we'll continue to monitor whether these trends hold as renewal windows expire and we see more individuals who may be less engaged with this process start to become eligible. Next slide. But just to zoom out a bit, we've included here our forecast for non-group enrollment through next June, which includes net growth of over 100,000 members. The solid bars here show actual enrollment so far this year, and you can see that we expect growth to accelerate into the fall, and particularly during open enrollment, when we're likely to see movement among individuals who are on MassHealth now, but who have family members in connector coverage. Their MassHealth renewal process will be coordinated with our renewal process to streamline both of those activities from their perspective as a household. And of course, these estimates are highly uncertain given the unprecedented nature of the process that's ongoing, and they're relatively aggressive as well. But this is consistent with our goal of helping individuals maintain coverage if they lose MassHealth. And we're planning for outreach and member supports that are commensurate with this level of growth. As we move forward, we'll continue to monitor both enrollment gains as well as looking at who's not enrolling with us. We'll be doing detailed analyses of our eligible but not enrolled population to look at the different member stories there. For instance, some people may not have enrolled because they completed their renewal form and told us that they're now enrolled in an employer plan. And that's a really different type of person than someone who didn't complete their renewal at all because they struggled with the forms. So we plan to combine that kind of administrative data with survey feedback to better understand what messages are resonating with people in different populations, and then to target our messaging and outreach resources based on what we learn from those activities. We'd also note that we'll publish a dashboard each month showing eligibility and enrollment activity associated with the redetermination effort. The first one was published last week. And these will be released in parallel with MassHealth's monthly dashboard, and we've included both links here for reference. So I'm happy to take questions if there are any before handing over to Jason for outreach.
I have a question. In the earlier slide, it said about 70% haven't enrolled. Is that in line with expectations?
Yeah, so we've been trying to triangulate what those expectations are, given that, we really have brought to bear a lot of initiatives to help people cross the finish line that we've not really used before. I would say in terms of benchmarking this against what we may have seen historically or what other states that were early movers on this process are seeing, we're finding that this is great news. But of course, we really would like to dive deeper into that 71% and understand what kinds of barriers they may or may not be facing as they move forward, and whether or not they truly need coverage, or if they've been found eligible for, say, an unsubsidized plan because they are enrolled in employer-sponsored coverage. I think we're not worried about that population as much as some of these other people who are facing true barriers that are administrative in nature. So we'll be diving more deeply into that, and you can expect to hear more from us on that 71% moving forward.
And Marissa, this is Kate. The only other thing I would say, Eric, is it's still very early days for MassHealth. So if you were redetermined, even in the first month in April, you have 45 days and then another 45 days. So we're sort of, I think the June numbers will be pretty telling. Marissa, I don't know if you would disagree with that, but I think it's still early days.
Yes, I totally agree. I feel like we have a few plates spinning. We're going to add a couple more in June as those expirations start, and we'll be monitoring their progress. And those different kinds of member trajectories and making sure people are getting what they need when they need it from us.
And I think the good news is the dashboards are built on both sides and we can track in real time. And, we may have to get back together to talk about surprises if there are any in the data.
Exactly. We're working closely with the MassHealth team on that.
Marissa, in terms of the projections, can you help us understand a little bit like how we're thinking about this in terms of where we think we might eventually end up? So we had what I think was probably a somewhat steady state before COVID happened, where we'd had some movements, but actually enrollment had been pretty consistent for quite a long time. And that was somewhat the same on the MassHealth side, as I recall. And then we had obviously this traumatic occurrence. And so is it our expectation that by the end of this, we should look pretty close to what we look like before COVID? Or I haven't gone back and kind of compared these numbers to, year end 2019 or something, but like, how are we thinking about this?
Yes, that's a great question. So I would say we hit our high watermark for enrollment as an exchange in February of 2020, and we were at about 302,000 members at that point on the non-group side. So this does represent a material increase over that high watermark. But I think what we're considering is that many people were kind of drawn into the HIC system during the pandemic as they qualified for MassHealth as the result of economic changes. And so they're kind of still in the mix. And to the extent that we're able to more readily reach those individuals and let them know about their coverage options, we think that there could be material growth in our population beyond what we had seen previously. I think this also accounts for the really intense outreach initiatives that we have planned, but we'll be evaluating those as we go to see what's resonating, what's not. I think I'm looking forward to our World Cup advertising. I think TV is a really powerful tool in terms of our outreach initiatives. And so I think all of those really intense efforts are folded into these expectations as well.
Okay, that's helpful to hear that we have aspirations beyond where we were pre-COVID, and that makes sense to me.
I'd say the only thing I'd add is that I think on the MassHealth side, I think that people who could be sort of automatically enrolled, that percentage is a little lower than we anticipated. So I think initially that might put a little bit more pressure on the connector and on Healthcare for All's efforts to reach people where, we're trying to open every aperture. The goal is to maintain coverage, whether it's MassHealth coverage or connector-based coverage or regular insurance. But I think we're, for this to work in any kind of reasonable way, we had to have about 50% of the people kind of not quite auto-enrolled, but be it sort of an electronic enrollment and not have to have direct member contact. And we're below that number on the MassHealth side. So,
and are we significantly below, or
42? And so we're trying to. Mike's going to kill me for quoting that number, but I feel like that combination of really working getting people onto the connector, but also trying to understand how to preserve coverage within the MassHealth program. It's going to be a very choppy summer because people are going to, they're going to show up for their kids' school physical and here they're not enrolled. And that's what we're trying to avoid, but it definitely is going to be hand-to-hand combat. Yeah.
And I think all the more important the shout out that Audrey appropriately gave Healthcare for All on the ground campaign. And this, this is really high touch.
Right. It's very high touch, particularly when you're outside of the electronic ways to do this. By definition, I mean, it's almost absurdly high touch. It's almost torture because the forms are so hard. So anyway.
Yeah, good.
But we are really, I mean, I keep saying we're laser focused on it. I think Audrey used the same words, but it's, right now the data aren't lining up exactly as we'd planned. Man planned, God laughs. We're sort of in that phase.
Okay, well, hope for a little bit less laughter, I guess, then as this proceeds. So.
No more questions on enrollment. I can hand over to Jason for outreach.
Great. Thanks, Marissa. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all. We'll run briefly with some updates on where we are in the world of all things communications. Direct communications remain a vital part of the outreach work that we're doing to newly eligible people coming from MassHealth. Just a note on the numbers here. These are on the household or subscriber level. It just doesn't make sense for us to send 4 mailers to the same house, for example. But we are making sure that every household that has a newly eligible member is getting a mail, text, whatever it is. Notably, we're up to over 81,000 messages in the first 2 months across the board here. May was the first month for robocalls. We'll continue to use those going forward a couple times a month. And email really appears to be our strongest performer. Those open rates over 50% are way above sort of the usual standard of low to mid 30s. And that's been consistent to growing on the open rate. So we feel like email has been working well for us so far. On public activities, it's really ramping up this month, this week in particular, with our first enrollment event at Fenway. This is the first event. Probably going to be a little more visibility than enrollment, just based on the fact that we're participating in El Mundo's Tu Salud Health and Wellness Fair. It's annually a very well attended event with thousands of visitors. Chances are most of them are not coming to enroll out of MassHealth. But they're definitely going to see us and hear us, and they will be able to meet navigators. And if they do need help getting enrolled, they will get it on site. But if they just need a reminder that we're available in the long run, that is certainly going to be a big part of the day. We have 2 more additional enrollment events this month. Those will be, probably a little more enrollment focused, doing direct targeted outreach to people who are newly eligible. We continue our webinars. We have 2 scheduled for this month. Probably note on the 21st, it's our first evening webinar, and MassHealth is participating in that with us, which is great. We've heard for a while that evenings are better for people to hop online and watch webinars, so we're excited to get that going on the regular with the evening hours. And then we do have an online calendar. Events are posted there. If people need to see what we're up to, you can hit the link and find out where we're going to be and where we're going to be there. Also, paid media really hits its full stride this month. Digital, print, out of home has all started. Radio started. TV should be starting soon. It's statewide. Encouraging anyone who doesn't have health insurance, but particularly those leaving MassHealth, to enroll in coverage. Reinforcing we're the only place to get help paying for health insurance. You have to have health insurance, and you can get a plan that you can trust and use and not fall for a scam. So we're hammering those messages nonstop. Materials being developed in English, Spanish, Brazilian Portuguese, Chinese, and Haitian Creole. And then where appropriate, we'll also have material in Khmer and Vietnamese and other languages as we get stuff placed around the state. These are just examples of one of the Spanish digital ads that'll pop up on websites. And then on the right is an example of a Portuguese print ad. So you can see what everything's kind of looking like.
Jason, what kind of scams are we particularly concerned about, and how are we working with our colleagues
I think we're
at
trying to
DOI
get
on
people. Yeah, I think we're trying to get people to come to mahealthconnector.org. Don't go to Google and click Obamacare-plans.com.
Get a free phone. Yeah.
Has there been any reports of problems so far with that kind of thing?
I'm not aware of any recently. It's a consistent issue for us, right? We fight the good fight with search engine optimization. We try to be first and high, but it really, if somebody went and Googled cheap healthcare Massachusetts or cheap health insurance Massachusetts, chances are the first 4 or 5 links are going to be, sponsored by scam websites. But we want to get that message out there. Come to us, know you're safe. You don't have to worry.
And Jason, I just add, we have a monthly work group with DOI and AGO to compare notes on scam plans. So we're in regular contact with them on that as well.
And I'll make sure Mike connects with our DTA folks who are seeing lots of scams and skimming in the cash assistance world. So we'll see if we can connect with us there as well. It's a very real concern.
And then let's see. I should be able to show this. This is the video ad. This will be streaming and also on TV. hopefully. Can you guys hear it?
We cannot hear it.
It's not working.
All right, I don't, for some reason, I can't share the sound.
We can always send it out to the board after the meeting.
Yeah,
if the
sorry about that.
Technology stars are not aligning.
Do you want to look at the pretty pictures real quick for 30 seconds?
Sure.
So reinforcing people coming from MassHealth should sign up in the Health Connector. Say, I think this is where we talk about it being safe. You can go online. Where to find us.
Is it mobile enabled?
Sorry, what was that, Eric?
Is it mobile enabled? Can people do this on their phones?
The ads?
Can people enroll on their phones?
Yeah, we have a mobile platform. Yep.
Great.
And then just that's the closing card, the Act Now, Stay Covered, which is sort of the overarching tagline for the entire both us and MassHealth and HICVA. So unless there's any more questions on communications, I can to Trish, who will talk about contact center and Maximus.
Jason, I had one more question just to deal with the issue of scam. We know that within the immigrant population, there's a lot of scam that goes on reporting because people are afraid to report that. Are we doing anything to convey the message that folks should be coming directly to the connector as opposed to I have a cousin or you have a friend that you can go to get your health insurance?
So that is one of our fundamental consistent messages everywhere we go, right? Go to mahealthconnector.org. It's what we use with navigators and other, in the field stakeholders. That is constantly where we are driving. Hopefully word of mouth, but it can get a little difficult.
And Dimitri, I can take that as a follow-up because we're doing a lot of work with the immigration advocates because of the EA crisis and the number of people who are arriving. So we're in pretty much constant contact with them. So we can, I'd be happy to talk about this rather than emergency shelter. So thank you.
Okay,
It's a very good comment.
I ask a question. We discussed at prior meetings the healthcare sharing ministry plans, which are often a source of inadequate coverage for people. Are we seeing any more of those as troubling options in the market? And do we have any thoughts about maybe going back and revisiting our view that those are MCC compliant?
So we did receive our latest round of data. As you'll recall, our last regulatory amendment to minimum creditable coverage included a reporting requirement for healthcare sharing ministries that wanted to have their coverage deemed MCC. So we did receive that this spring and we're in the process of analyzing it. I think we'd expect to present a report based on that soon. My high level understanding at this point is that it's been relatively steady state and a little bit of a mixed bag, a few new entrants, a few companies that said, we're coming out of Massachusetts. We're not going to even, put our products there anymore. But we'll have more to share on that in the coming months.
That's great to hear. I'll look forward to that. Thanks, Marissa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks everyone. Trish?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Next slide, Jason, for the stats. Thank you. Our contact center volume has continued to be stable with a slight uptick in May. Our abandonment rate continues to be below 1%, and our service level has consistently been in the high 90% range. We also receive weekly contact center statistics from MassHealth, and their metrics are very similar to the health connectors, with similar abandonment rates and average handle time for calls. While we're pleased that our ability to continue to provide such good service levels at this time, it is important to remember it is still very early in the unwind process. We have not yet encountered the large volume of calls that we're expecting as the number of individuals terminated from MassHealth increases. We will continue to work with Accenture to maintain the best standards possible, but anticipate some changes in our metrics moving forward through the unwind. The next slide. The Health Connector also continues to prioritize customer service stabilities and other areas. We continue to work with Accenture on our forecast to make sure it's as accurate as possible. We have agreed upon staffing levels through August. We're also working on determining additional staffing levels above that forecast to make sure that we're ready for any large increases in call volume. We continue to work on enhancing our language capabilities in our interactive voice response, or IVR. Once the IVR is updated, and we're anticipating that will be in July, callers will be able to navigate the IVR, hearing menu options and messages in their language. In addition, agents will be alerted that there is a non-English speaking caller on the phone and can have an interpreter ready as soon as that call is transferred to the agent. On the outreach specialist candidate front, we have 3 individuals that we're extending offers to, and we're working on hiring for the other 5 specialists and 1 supervisor position. We continue to work with MassHealth on our staffing events, making sure that we're scheduled for shelters and working in hand with HCFA to make sure that those events are staffed appropriately across Massachusetts. So we do continue to work very closely with MassHealth on that. We work weekly to make sure that we have those events lined up and ready to go. Next slide. So we, over the past few board meetings, we've discussed a second vendor coming in and helping Accenture. Accenture is our contact center vendor. Under the emergency list section provision of our procurement rules, we chose Maximus Human Services as that second vendor. Maximus is on statewide contract IT 74 with a specialty of business process management. They also have over 20 years experience working with MassHealth, and therefore can ramp up very quickly for us to have staff trained and available for July 1st. Maximus will provide paper processing and outbound call support with the ability to pivot back and forth between those 2 tasks as required by the Health Connector. By keeping the inbound work solely with Accenture, we avoid the complexities of telephony system changes in managing 2 separate groups of vendors taking inbound phone calls. The Health Connector will be executing a 6-month contract with Maximus with an operational start date of July 1st and an end date of November 30th, with the ability to extend that contract up to 6 months if needed. The not to exceed amount of $3 million for the initial contract is within the connector budget.
Does Maximus currently have a contract with MassHealth?
They're the second vendor right now for MassHealth. So they're providing additional staff for their current contracts, the current contact center vendor.
Okay, thanks.
I see Rena has her hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to, I wanted to hear the full presentation before I offered some comments. I just want to give a heads up. I am not going to vote in support of this new contract until I get a better understanding of the enrollment projections. I fully appreciate that we aspire to grow enrollment very dramatically over the next 12 months. But until we understand if those enrollment levels are achievable, I cannot in good conscience support spending at a level to support the enrollment that we haven't seen yet.
Are there additional data the team could bring back to you, Rena? Oh, I'm wondering if we're going to say that.
Yeah, definitely, Audrey.
Yes. I was just going to offer, we're certainly happy to connect with you, Rena, and any other board members to do kind of a deeper dive into not just the enrollment projections, because I think that's an important component of this, but this is also about ensuring that our call center apparatus can capably serve the kind of volume we expect to contact the connector, regardless of whether they land in connector coverage. We do know that 1/3 of the state is on MassHealth right now. We'll be going through this redetermination process. There's going to be invariably, regardless of where people land, an incredible amount of need for support, for questions, people calling MassHealth, people calling the health connector. So just want to note that yes, this is linked to our enrollment growth projections, but it's also linked to the forecast with respect to the number of people we expect to need to engage with the connector as they sort out where they ought to be. And you know, our data supports that need. And this is really, Trish, please jump in here. This is really about additional capacity if we need it, and is designed to be flexible based on the volume we see coming in. But Trish, please round out on that.
Yeah, I mean, we do have some checks and balances in place if the inbound call volume increases beyond what we're expecting. The issue is if it jumps up and stays up, it does take a minute for us to get folks hired, trained, and able to take those calls while we're pulling paper processing or walk-in center staff on the Accenture side to help out with the inbound calls. We do still have an obligation to be able to process paper in a timely manner for applications. That's where the Maximus staff would come in. We would then pivot them over to paper processing. The other thing that they're helping us with is, you know, we have a contingency of folks who are now connector eligible that haven't enrolled in a plan. We can have them make outbound calls to that specific population. August is a very busy month for us. We do all of our redeterminations for our mixed households. In July, we would use the Maximus staff, if they're not processing paper, to make outbound calls to those mixed households, letting them know you're getting a blue envelope in August. It's very important. You need to be able to fill that out and get that back to us, and assisting them with that process. And then there is also a larger contingency of folks that will be getting a blue envelope that haven't received one yet. We can also make calls to those individuals. Again, it goes back to that touch point, the one at a time, getting in touch with folks to let them know that mail is important. You need to address the information that's in that envelope and helping to get those applications completed and processed. It is 50 FTEs on the Maximus side, so we're not bringing in a very large contingency of individuals, but having them cross-trained to be able to pivot back and forth means we don't have them sitting there potentially with nothing to do, or either having them assist on one side or the other. So for that 6-month contract, that's what they would be assisting us with. And then with open enrollment around the corner, we could also make outbound calls to folks to remind them if they need to make a plan choice. So, I mean, we believe we have enough work for them to do, and there is a need for them. Again, if they end up doing paper processing, it buys Accenture a little bit of time to get folks in the door trained and able to start taking phone calls. Ordinarily, it takes about 6 weeks to get a class put together, trained, and on the floor. They do have some capability to bring in folks and get them trained a little bit quicker. And so having Maximus there as a backup allows them to be able to do that and still focus on answering the calls with that additional staff that they've pulled over to help. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
I'm sorry, Rena. I had a quick question, Tricia. A few months back, one of the presentation had identified that there was some baked in extra capacity from Accenture to handle the forecasted growth with regard to redetermination and any additional work that needed to be performed. Where are we with regard to usage of that excess capacity that was baked in, so to speak, which was identified in previous board meeting? Have we used all that excess capacity that Accenture had? And that's the reason we're identifying yet another vendor to come in and assist with this process?
So we did have some additional capacity in April and May. Obviously, our volume has been low enough that extra capacity has helped us keep the service levels very high. We are working with Accenture on an agreement that gives us a certain number of staff throughout the unwind. That FTE complement will also help if there is a spike in volume. Again, the second layer to that would be pulling the paper processing staff over. And if volume goes up on the incoming call side, they will not have the capability to make any of these outbound calls. So it's important to us to try to reach out to folks ahead of time before they're getting those blue envelopes to make sure that they're looking for those in the mail. So we do have some extra capacity with Accenture. And then this extra capacity with Maximus will help not on the inbound call side. It will allow Accenture to use every resource that they have, whether it's the extra baked in capacity, the paper processing folks, the walk-in center folks. They'll be able to pull all that together if needed. And Maximus will be there to help with the other things that Accenture then won't be able to do because their focus will solely be on the incoming calls. Maximus will be able to do the outbound call campaigns as well as the paper processing.
What percentage of the outgoing call campaigns, if any, can be done with via automated outreach calls?
So we are doing some robo calls. I don't know what percentage of the outbound calls are robo calls right now. I know we do have campaigns each week that go out. We're also able to do text touch points with folks. I can get numbers for you. I can let you know what our numbers are each week. So happy to follow up with those.
Okay, no, that'll be great information to have. Just curious in terms of whether or not we might be able to Rena's point, being sensitive of the expenditures, whether or not we might be able to penetrate the same percent of folks just using automated processes.
Yep.
Rena, did you have something else to say? Because then I think I see Eric and Nancy next.
No, I just wanted to acknowledge Trish's comments.
Good, thank you. Eric.
There we go. Thank you. Just want to recognize and appreciate that what we're all trying to do is minimize the chances of people dropping off and try to have some backup procedures and resources as we need them, because this is not something that's going to reoccur. This is a one-time event this year. So understanding the need to be protective. And just want to ask and ensure that with this proposed contract, as well as the others today, that they all fall within the budget for the connector, or is any of this putting the budget at risk or requiring any adjustments? That's my question. Thank you.
Audrey, I don't know if you want to speak about the budget piece. This is within the connector budget.
Yes, it is within the connector budget. So we've been planning for this for several months. And as Trish noted, the not to exceed is incorporated into our budget process. I'm sorry, my light just turned off, so I'm in the dark now. But thank you for that question, Eric. That's good to clarify.
Nancy, you have a question?
Comment. Just to go on the record as being fully supportive of this and echoing what Eric said. I think it would be irresponsible and dangerous to our goals of keeping people in coverage not to have backup capacity. And we heard earlier in the meeting that there are, a few indications that people are not re-enrolling at the levels that we would like, which suggests that our volume is bound to go up over time. The worst possible situation to be in would be to have people contacting us to enroll and re-enroll and have operational problems as a result and miss the opportunity to keep people in coverage. So I have full confidence in the recommendations of the staff who know the operational situation certainly much better than I do, and I would respectfully say probably than all of the board members. So I think we have to be in a position where we can pivot and adjust to changing volumes.
Any other discussion? Tricia, is there one more slide with the vote on it? Okay. Okay, I think I'm looking at my rules here. I think we can ask for a motion and a second if there's no further discussion, or we can have a motion, a second, further discussion, and then a voice roll call vote. And Nancy, your hand's still up. Is that just habit? Okay.
Well, it's very clear I don't raise my hand as often as I should. So
I know,
it's
I never do either.
It's poor Zoom skills. So thank you for pointing that out.
I'm always struggling. Can I have a motion then?
So moved.
Thanks, Nancy. Second. Any discussion? And I really appreciate Rena bringing up her concerns. Okay, I think now I need to ask Kathy to call for a voice vote.
Okay. Rebecca,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Martha,
Yes.
Dimitri,
Yes.
Secretary,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Rena.
Abstain.
Thank you, everyone.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks to the team for pulling the presentation together. The next item on the agenda is a presentation, another presentation on the non-group outreach and marketing procurement. This will require a vote as well. And it includes a request for the board to authorize the executive director to enter into an MOU with Archipelago Strategies Group. And Jason will kick off this presentation.
Great. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Hello again, everyone. Outreach and engagement remain a core part of what we do in our work to get everyone in Massachusetts covered. We have consistently in the past worked with an outside vendor to augment that work, particularly around creating paid and earned messaging and supporting the in-person community-based activities that we find so important. Our goals going forward are to continue to be data-driven, learn from the results of our campaigns, and continue to innovate messaging to be as impactful as possible. Reaching the uninsured remains our top priority, but going forward, we also want to identify new populations we need to be visible with in order to ensure that they're aware of our offerings when they need us. So that's more of a year-round visibility. Right now we're very focused during open enrollment on visibility and outreach. Since 2016, ASG has been our non-group marketing and outreach vendor. We will be requesting today continuing our work with them. In terms of outreach to the uninsured, while we continue to lead the nation in healthcare coverage rates, challenges do remain, particularly as we see new people come into the state or the unenrolled pool over time. Recent reporting details that younger Hispanic and Black residents are more likely to be uninsured. Finances remain a sizable hurdle. Many lower income people are not only uninsured, but they're juggling household costs and find even unsubsidized care to be unaffordable. And awareness of affordable options remains a challenge in many of these communities at the same time. They don't even know that we're there to help. There's also the challenge of real administrative barriers to coverage and the general perception that the healthcare system at large is just difficult to manage and deal with. So fundamental to our outreach efforts is the task of continuing to reach out directly to the uninsured, working to identify the best messages and best ways to get directly to those who need coverage and get them to enroll. Going forward, we do want to identify new populations for outreach education. Our first area for homework is finding a wide range of data sources to get a clear picture of not just healthcare and health insurance coverage and non-coverage, but economic and business industry data and other resources that can point toward not only who is uninsured now, but try to look ahead a little bit, maybe almost kind of around the corner as to who might need coverage down the road. We want to understand really well sort of who's in the gig economy at this point or the self-employed world kind of coming post-COVID. We want to understand the demographic makeup of that landscape to help us define messaging. In case there's an economic downturn, what industries are most susceptible to job loss and associated coverage loss? We want to have a clear plan to reach those people when the time comes. In many cases, these are going to be smaller populations that are going to require appropriate outreach at different times or at the same time. And we want to be able to prepare to manage those needs as necessary. Part of that is going to be reshaping the messaging. Once we know and understand who we should be talking to, we want to understand how to talk to them. Because again, these might be somewhat narrowly sliced populations. We want to work with ASG to learn what to say and where to say it. Kind of the basic example, someone who's just turning 26 and is leaving their parents' coverage and is on their own, they're going to respond to different messaging from someone married and has 2 kids. We also want to understand the best way to maximize visibility with a particular audience. Digital technology obviously offers the ability to create type borders on who you're talking to in a variety of different spaces. But digital options of where exactly to place a message is seemingly limitless. So we need some guidance on, the best place to talk to these people with this message. So we do anticipate spending a lot of time with ASG on working through how this web of messaging and platform comes together in the future. So we did undertake a procurement. We put the RFP out in late winter. We got 4 responses. There were 3 kind of main items that the team focused on: continuing to fully support racial and health equity initiatives, creating compelling messaging for all populations, and continuing the in-person community-based activities that have been so important to what we've done over the last several years. The RFP defined a 3-year with 2 possible 1-year extensions with a $1.1 million budget that's similar to previous years and is accounted for in our current budget. So this is the scoring by the procurement team. The team did select ASG as the winning bidder. Of note here, ASG scored well in creating marketing campaign, and its proposal clearly excelled in detailing program metrics, and its team composition and experience were really strong. So they work closely with not only us, but other state agencies that are active in the healthcare industry, which was important too. Part of ASG's proposal did include a multi-page review of work that they've done annually on the health connector's behalf. It really resonated with the procurement team on multiple levels. It included examples of creative developed. It was kind of nice to see that shift over the years. The review included detailed metrics to quantify this. And it really reinforced ASG's ability to think creatively and message appropriately on an annual basis. The proposal, ASG provided details that were important to the review team, including using data to identify populations, being able to adjust messaging and platforms to meet the needs of a particular time. I think, for example, they were really quick to provide good messaging when federal subsidies were expanded during COVID. Every year we have a conversation, what's coming up on open enrollment that we should be talking about. Certainly this fall we'll be talking about the additional carriers and more options in care for starters. In working with ASG since 2016, we've seen them grow and change over the last 7 years. Their proposal did include a comprehensive team of faces that were well known to us in our account over the years, along with some fresh new faces joining their team. Historically, we've had our needs consistently met by ASG and its team, and the proposal indicated that would continue. So I don't know if there's any questions, but here's the vote that we asked for your consideration on.
Give people a chance to absorb the vote, and I see Nancy has a question.
Yeah, Jason, so thank you for that. I'm supportive of this. One comment and then a question. Or maybe in the opposite order, is ASG working with other states It's wonderful to have a vendor who's done such a good job for us on over such a long period of time, and I think knows us and knows the market. And on the other hand, there's been a lot of good work going on in other states as well. So, and I know we always try to learn from that. And we have been at pretty much the same level of uninsurance since 2008. So I'm wondering how we're thinking about continuing this very good relationship with ASG, but at the same time being sure that we are learning and growing and developing, particularly with what's happening other places that have also been, maybe not quite as successful as we are, but we do have peer states who are pretty much in the same vicinity as we are.
Yeah, so I think, going back to sort of that investigative stage, I think we do want to include what's going on in other states where other states have had successes. Particularly to ASG, I should probably go back and triple check this, but I'm pretty sure they've done some work for the Rhode Island exchange, but I'm not aware of any other work on the exchange basis by them.
Nancy, I almost had the inverse question. I felt like they were doing so much work for the state. I know they're doing work for MassHealth. I know they're doing work for DPH. I was worried from my connector board hat, were we going to get the fair share of voice and the, so I almost had the opposite question, but I think it's actually really a good time to challenge them. They've grown a lot, and what else can they bring to the table for us? I think it's really good feedback, and it's more constructive than my random question, are you guys too busy to do this? So I think Jason, you can have a more precise conversation with them.
Yeah, and I think you obviously have a broader perspective than I think, particularly with some of the new really good data we have on who's still uninsured, being sure that we are really taking advantage of that to target our efforts even more sharply on particular groups of folks. Because some of the groups you mentioned, Jason, like young adults, who will always be an important group, but they've been an important group for a really long time, and we've known that. So really figuring out how do we continue to grow and develop, I think is really important.
I'm going to ask for any other comments and then a motion. I keep getting my internet is unstable, so I'm going to get rid of my picture to see if that helps. But any additional comments before I ask for a motion? I'll move it. Second. Thanks, Nancy. Okay, Kathy, time for a voice vote, please.
Okay. Rebecca,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Martha,
Yes.
Dimitri,
Yes.
Secretary,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Rena.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, my internet went out for a minute there, but is the vote complete, Kathy? Did we get Rebecca?
We did.
Okay, great. Thank
We
you.
got everybody.
Okay, sorry, it's a little nerve-wracking here today. Oh, okay. Next agenda item is we have a lot of contracts to review today. Is a presentation on the data architect McInnis consulting contract, and this is a renewal which requires a vote. It's a relatively modest contract in the scheme of things that we voted on today, and I think that Elliot Gorman is going to present this. Elliot?
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Good morning, everyone. I'll be providing some background on a staff aug contract that we will be requesting your approval for. The Health Connector IT team seeks approval to enter into a contract with McInnis Consulting for the services of a data architect through state blanket contract ITS 77 for staff augmentation. The data architect, who is an employee of Takisma, which subcontracts to the Health Connector through statewide blanket ITS 77, and has been working effectively with the Health Connectors IT team for several years and will continue to support the advancement of our enterprise data warehouse, analytics, and reporting platforms. This includes data architecture, data modeling and design, data security, analytics, and reporting systems design and development, as well as ongoing systems analysis as necessary. Some examples of the activities this resource will be performing are the design and implementation of a broader business-oriented data model, as well as incorporation of additional data into the Health Connectors enterprise data and reporting models. A little background on state blanket ITS 77, which is a staff augmentation blanket contract. By leveraging ITS 77, the Health Connector is able to receive the benefit of relying on a vendor that has been procured through an appropriate process that contains all the strong contractual protections that come with a state contract. This saves the Health Connector both time and resources, as opposed to conducting a procurement for a staff augmentation vendor without sacrificing the flexibility to choose the specific resource that we need. And McInnis Consulting is an approved vendor that has been procured through state blanket ITS 77. This contract is for services from July 1st through June 30th, 2024, and is a not to exceed amount of $270,400. And I'm happy to take any questions on that.
Are there any questions, comments? It's a relatively straightforward. My understanding from the prep session is that if this contract was $20,000 less, we wouldn't be reviewing it at the board. If that sets it into some context.
Correct.
So unless there's further discussion, I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Dimitri. Second?
Second.
Okay, and Kathy, do we need a voice vote on this?
We do.
Okay, here we go again.
Okay. Rebecca,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Martha,
Yes.
Dimitri,
Yes.
Secretary,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Rena.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Next up, I just lost my place. Sorry, is Erin presenting, but I better get more specific on the
That is
topic.
right. Erin is kicking us off with Shaitra Sanders as well.
My cheat sheet just disappeared on me. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. Good morning, Madam Secretary and members of the board. It is a pleasure to be here this morning to provide an overview of the Health Connector for Business platform and the benefits that it provides to small employers in Massachusetts. In 2017, the Health Connector relaunched the Health Connector for Business platform to include new tools and shopping structures that continue to have the ability to transform how small employers offer health insurance coverage to their employees. The platform contributes to addressing affordability by establishing known costs for employers, connecting employers with lower cost options they may not otherwise be aware of, and giving employees the power of choice when selecting a plan. Today, I am joined by the Associate Director for Health Connector for Business, Shaitra Sanders, and we will provide a review of the Health Connector for Business platform and its unique features. We'll review some of the challenges the small group market is facing and how Health Connector for Business is poised to help. And lastly, we'll review recent Health Connector for Business enrollments and trends. I'll go ahead and hand it over to Shaitra for a review of the features of the Health Connector for Business platform.
Thank you, Erin. Providing health and dental coverage to employees is a significant step for small businesses in Massachusetts. While it is not required for employers with 50 or fewer employees to offer coverage, many employers see the benefit in providing health care to their valued team members. But finding the right plan for all employees can sometimes be a stressful challenge. Health Connector for Business looks to address the challenge small businesses face when looking to offer their employees quality health coverage that is affordable to both the business and the employees, while still meeting the needs of each employee and their families who are utilizing the health insurance. Health Connector for Business empowers small employers with the ability to control costs while providing flexibility to their employees. A benefit like this tends to be more familiar to large employers. Through Health Connector for Business, small businesses in Massachusetts are able to offer health plans from all the leading carriers in Massachusetts while providing flexibility, choice, and savings through an easy-to-use online platform. Thank you, Erin. Health Connector for Business offers many exclusive benefits for small businesses that cannot be found elsewhere. As a result of having access to an easy online shopping platform and all the leading carriers in one marketplace, small businesses report saving on average 20% through comparison shopping by utilizing the quick quoting tools on Health Connector for Business. In addition to being able to make smart financial decisions through comparison shopping, small businesses may also have the advantage of receiving money back for offering coverage to their employees through our exclusive Connect Well wellness rebate program and the federal small business tax credit that is designed for some small businesses that offer coverage through a state marketplace while meeting average salaries at or below $56,000 a year or less. In the coming slides, I will review more in depth the benefits employers receive through Health Connector for Businesses employee choice models and the free assistance of independent brokers within the community that are trained and certified to utilize the platform to provide the best options for small businesses. The Health Connector for Business platform allows employers to design a health insurance plan that best reflects the needs of their company as a whole, and employees can pick the plan that best fits their individual needs. Employers can set their premium participation percentage and immediately determine their monthly contributions, while employees can consider plans that offer benefits in line with their medical and financial needs. The Health Connector for Business, in addition to the traditional one plan model offered off exchange, offers two exclusive options to choose from. One carrier allows employers to select a single carrier and percentage of company contribution into a benchmark plan. And then employees are able to choose the plan from that carrier that best meets their benefit level needs. One level allows employers to choose a reference plan, and employees can choose across all carriers within the tier of the reference plan, silver or gold, therefore allowing them to choose a carrier's plan that has their preferred doctors or hospitals in the network. Both of these choice models allow an employer to overcome the challenge of cost worries by allowing them to create a benefit offer that fits within the company's budget, while their employees are provided with the option to choose the coverage they need, therefore providing an attractive benefit to assist with the retainment and recruitment of talent. Next slide, please. Health insurance can be confusing, and choosing a health plan can be time-consuming, especially for a small business where the decision makers often are wearing many hats as they serve several roles within the business. While there are no membership fees or dues to use the Health Connector for Business, employers also have access to knowledgeable brokers within their community to assist them at no cost with creating quotes, offering coverage, and managing their business and employee accounts through the Health Connector for Business. Towards the end of this presentation, I will be providing an overview on enrollment and engagement within the small business community. Before I turn this back over to Erin to walk through some information in reference to small group health insurance landscape, I'll pause here for any questions.
Secretary, I think you went on mute.
I did have a quick comment. Having participated in the HPC board yesterday and looking at the affordability challenge we continue to face in the state, I'm pretty excited about the options this potentially provides, particularly to smaller businesses who are really caught up in that premium squeeze, and particularly those high deductible plans that many people find themselves in because they have no choice. So I think this is something that when we're sort of through the morass of redetermination and the product is stable as American healthcare is, I think this is a really important area for us to focus on going forward. So.
Thank you, Secretary. I agree.
Erin, I'll turn this over to you.
Great. Thank you, Shaitra. So as we know, employers continue to be faced with affordability challenges when wanting to offer meaningful health insurance coverage to their employees. Over the course of the last several years, there has been a continuous decline in enrollment in the small group market. From September 2020 to September 2022, enrollment in the small group market declined by 9.2%. However, despite the affordability challenges that employers face and the decline in small group enrollments, Massachusetts employers of all sizes remain more likely to offer health insurance coverage to their employees than employers nationwide. Massachusetts employers remain committed to offering health insurance coverage to their employees. They recognize that providing health insurance coverage is the right thing to do for their employees and for their businesses. But affordability remains the primary concern for employers in offering health insurance coverage, and the Health Connector for Business platform can provide some relief in this space. While the conversation surrounding affordability continues, the Health Connector for Business platform does provide real-time solutions for employers in need of cost savings. The graph on this slide demonstrates the differences of average annual premiums across market segments for single coverage between 2018 and 2022. The darker blue dotted line at the top represents the average annual premium for all small groups in Massachusetts at just over $8,000 a year. The solid purple line represents the average annual premium of all small groups shopping exclusively through the Health Connector for Business platform. The green line then represents the average annual premium for individuals shopping through the Health Connector on the individual and family side of the market. As we can see, the average annual premium in the individual market, the green line, is lower than other average annual premiums. But it is important to emphasize that the premiums that are available in the individual market are also available through the Health Connector for Business platform and available to small groups because of the merged market. And so small groups have access to premiums as low as those being purchased on the individual side of the merged market. And I'll pause here because this is a very striking graph that demonstrates that employers shopping through the Health Connector for Business platform are more likely to select lower cost plans than if they were shopping off exchange. So I will pause for any kind of questions or comments on this.
Erin, is this corrected for benefit differences? Like are the premiums lower because people who shop in the exchange buy lower levels of coverage, or is it adjusted for that?
So the next slide will actually show additional savings as we look across metallic tiers. I believe this is just looking at the average annual premiums, but can certainly confirm and get back to you, Nancy.
Does it also control for demographic differences? I mean, the average person enrolling might be younger on the individual market than the group. Does it control for that?
I am not certain, Eric, but also a great question that I will certainly take back to get those additional details.
And I think to Erin's point, the next slide shows that regardless of the benefit level in terms of the actuarial value or metal tier, employers shopping on exchange are finding their way to lower cost options. And the data in here is controlled for a 42-year-old, the average age. So it's not demographic noise.
Thank you, Audrey. And I can go back to that earlier line graph if there are additional questions or comments, but it can also kind of move forward with another kind of visualization of how we see these savings through the Health Connector for Business platform. Because as we look, across metallic tiers when shopping through the Health Connector for Business platform, you can see that there are savings that employers are realizing across all tiers, from 10% to up to 26% compared to employers who are shopping off of the exchange. This is attributed to the ability of employers to compare plans and shop on the exchange. This comparison shopping behavior on the Health Connector for Business platform mimics behavior in the individual market, with employers making more price-conscious decisions when they are selecting plans side by side, potentially selecting plans that might not otherwise be known to them if shopping off exchange.
So, Erin, the way we should understand this is having more transparency and more ability to compare. In some cases, with the assistance of brokers and others, maybe not, leads people to make different coverage choices than they do when they're having to navigate the market. Certainly if they're doing it by themselves, and perhaps sometimes with the assistance of people who might have certain commission incentives or other things to try to promote a particular product. Is that right?
I think that is the point, Nancy, that when individuals have the opportunity, employers in this instance, to look at plans side by side, compare apples to apples, they make different choices. And so this is, what we are seeing happen on the Health Connector for Business platform. So those premiums exist in the merged market, but employers are, through comparison, making different choices. Matt?
And as you said, we see the same as other marketplaces do. Different decisions when people shop through marketplace than if they go direct in the individual market too.
Yeah, and I would just add to that point, Nancy, the dynamics we see when small groups and their employees come through Health Connector for Business are very similar to what we see in the individual market, because effectively it's allowing people to make more individualized, granular decisions rather than the employer necessarily making one choice for all of their employees. So I know we hear a lot, there's a hypothesis that small employers and their employees aren't interested in lower cost narrow network options. Our data shows something different. And I'm not saying narrow networks are the silver bullet, but they're one tool of many. And when we see that ability for groups to kind of break apart and for people to make their own choices, they're behaving a lot like the individual market, which shows great price sensitivity and people being interested in that trade-off between perhaps it is network breadth and premium.
Matt, I see you have your hand raised.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is really compelling, actually. And so what it shows, I'm sort of paraphrasing, forgive me, and just saying what's already been said, but small groups are essentially voting with their feet with an effective shopping mechanism here through the connector. So that being what I'm hearing, that being the primary driver, would you say that there are other dynamics here that lead to the delta between what they are getting off exchange and what they're getting on exchange? So if the improved shopping experience is the primary driver, what would you say are like the secondary drivers? Are there any other sort of market dynamics or unique features of shopping through the connector as opposed to off exchange that still exist? I know you've been the Commonwealth and the connector board have been making strides to sort of equalize some of these things in the merged market, but are there other things at play here that we should be aware of?
So all of these savings here, I'll just note, are, don't reflect any of the rebates or Connect Well program that Shaitra noted, as she also described the choice model, which also, again, kind of contributes to affordability. But other factors, I don't know, Audrey, if you have anything you'd want to add, or Shaitra as well, welcome your thoughts here.
I think it is primarily just the ability to shop and see options that frankly are not likely visible to small employers when they shop off exchange. We offer carriers through Health Connector for Business that I think historically a lot of small employers haven't necessarily had marketed to them or may not be necessarily incented to look at. And I won't make hypotheses about why that's true, in the broker community or intermediaries or otherwise, but it's a complicated market landscape. And I think what Health Connector for Business does is exactly what Health Connector does for the individual market, which is put everybody on equal footing and bring buyers and sellers together so they can look transparently across, make informed decisions. And what we see happen here, just like on the individual market side, is people make different choices than they do when they're navigating a bit more of a wilderness and a bit more beholden to inertia, what they've heard on the radio, what a broker or intermediary might put in front of them. And I think it's interesting that we see the same trend on both sides of the market, because I don't think small business employees are very different from people in the individual market. They want good healthcare and they are really struggling with cost, and they're looking for opportunities to bring their costs down.
But I do think the focus and the expertise that the connector is able to bring, or at least represent, I think it's really important. I mean, think about it. If you're a small business, what do? You ask the payroll person, who might be the owner's wife or husband, what plan should you sign up for? I mean, we all hate when we get that open enrollment booklet to figure out what to do next, even if you're in the business. So I think this is really compelling. And I think I think it's like the next big thing for us to talk about. And I wonder if some of Nancy's hypothesis about how to better reach people who aren't getting insurance are kind of buried in this morass, because their employers offering them something that's just too expensive in the under 50 place. So I think it's really, they're really compelling data. And I wonder if, we obviously, it's an open marketplace and we can't steer people, but if more people took, I'll make it up, a silver plan, would the savings even be greater? Is there some power of the market we could bring to this? But maybe we're not supposed to do that. So we can strike that from the minutes if it's illegal. Eric.
That's great. We can definitely do a deeper dive into those kinds of questions.
Yeah, I think I can bring a lot of value to this conversation, being in the broker seat on the board. And I think that a big part of the puzzle will be to reach out to the broker community and educate them. I see a lot. I know exactly how it should work. We've seen other carriers and other models enter the marketplace and try to expand their footprint. So being in the business, I know how that happens. And so I want to publicly thank Audrey for joining the broker community next week at our annual event. She'll be presenting this topic to hundreds of brokers as an intro, along with redetermination updates. And then following that, this could be a discussion for another day, but I think it's going to require similar efforts as we're doing on the individual marketing. I think you need to do on the business marketing. And I think it should be not to compete with brokers, because most businesses use brokers. I think we should look at the Connector for Business as a model that gets presented to brokers at their offices, in meetings, just like other carriers and other providers of services meet with brokers and try to educate them on their value proposition. Because if it is a value proposition, and if employers and employees can save, and if the brokers are treated the same off and on exchange, which they appear to be, then it's just a matter of educating the brokers and the business community about the value proposition, and then it'll work.
Thank you, Eric. That was really helpful. Matt.
Yeah, just a follow-up question to that, and perhaps I shouldn't ask this, but I'm going to ask it. So from what I take from the previous slides here, a small business can have the assistance of a broker in selecting a plan or an approach through the connector without additional cost to the group. So how does the broker get paid? Because if it's the same either way, then how does that math work? I'm sorry, that may be a simplistic or naive question, but it sort of goes to Eric's point, like, are we competing with brokers? It kind of feels like we're competing with brokers. And I'll say, if I were a broker and I was looking at this, I might be concerned about what's the role of the broker going forward. If the connector is such an effective marketplace as it is demonstrated here, then what's the role for the broker? Sorry if I'm sort of going right where I should not, but it's sort of a question that seems obvious to me.
No, and I will, oh, sorry, Secretary.
No, I was going to say it's a really important question. And I think that's exactly the kind of conversation we should have in the board, because that's why we're here.
Absolutely, a very important question. And I will say that the Health Connector for Business does pay the broker commissions for the assistance that they offer. I believe we are on par with the industry in how we pay out broker commissions, but we will be kind of revisiting our structure if there are other things that maybe the Health Connector for Business isn't doing that would align with the industry. And I'll certainly welcome input from Shaitra because she has made tremendous gains in the broker community over the last few years, and really bringing them on board to, help promote the Health Connector for Business product. But we recognize there's still work to do and really want to work with our board members to make sure that we do bring this value proposition to small employers who can really benefit from it.
Aaron, I would agree with you that we do pay brokers commissions, and they are not particular to any carrier exactly. It's just based on how many subscribers per month that they have within a particular group. And it is on par with the rest of the market.
I think it was Matt and then Nancy, or maybe Matt was done. His hand's still up. Nancy.
Sorry, I'm done lowering my hand. Thanks.
Nancy.
Yeah, just to give a little historical perspective on this, not to dampen our enthusiasm for this opportunity, but just to be clear-eyed. So we've been doing this for lots of years. In recent years, our enrollment has grown a lot percentage-wise, but we still have a minuscule market share in the small group market, compared to our much more substantial presence in non-group. So that suggests to me, and I think Eric is the key to helping us continue to understand this, because there's nothing like a public-minded broker, that clearly either the value proposition is not clear yet, or there are other things going on in our relationship with the carriers and between the carriers and the brokers that are making the brokers much more interested in selling directly. And I personally doubt that the financial arrangements are equal. And, at the end of the day, I think there likely still are significant financial incentives in various ways to brokers not to come through the Health Connector. The only states that have achieved a significant market share in the small group market are those that have given statutory preference, at least in very small groups, to the exchange as the place where the smallest groups go. So I think it's great that we're renewing and continuing our efforts here, but I think there are lots of pieces to this beyond just transparency that I think we need to continue to work on and understand.
Thanks, Nancy. And thanks for providing the perspective of 10 years on this board or some number like that.
16.
16. Well, time flies when you're having.
Yeah, it sure does.
And there's a pandemic in the middle that kind of, we all lost track of time. Shaitra, I know you have a few more slides. So are there any more questions, or should we keep there? Okay, we're going to keep going.
I'll just say one more thing, that if you present benefit brokers a way for their clients to spend less on healthcare, then they will find a way.
They'll build you a statue. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much to everyone, because this is exactly the conversation that we want to engage in, and we will certainly be utilizing all the expertise on our board to, again, help promote the real-time savings of the Health Connector for Business platform. So as we saw, there is real cost savings that the Health Connector for Business platform can offer employers, and employers who are using the Health Connector for Business platform support that assessment. According to the Health Connector for Business survey respondents, affordability was the #1 reason for choosing to shop through the Health Connector for Business platform, with over 1/3 of respondents selecting this as their primary reason for using the platform. Other reasons that employers decide to use the platform include the ability to compare plans and the perceived quality of the plans offered. And so in this conversation bubble below, I'll just paraphrase that essentially it was a place to find affordable options, compare offers and companies in one place, but also that the quality of the plans was there for their employees. And so, we know that small employers wear many hats, and the task of selecting a single health insurance plan for all employees is a big responsibility. And as Shaitra reviewed earlier, the unique employer choice models are an important feature on the Health Connector for Business platform because it empowers the employee to select health insurance coverage plans that meet their distinct needs. So this removes a bit of the burden that an employer can face when selecting a single health plan for a group of people. And so for employers who enrolled in one of the choice models through the Health Connector for Business platform, nearly all of them reported finding the option to be incredibly valuable. And choice models were particularly appealing to employers who were specifically concerned about the health insurance costs that their employees might face, as it gives employees an opportunity to access potential savings. So as we've noted, the Health Connector for Business provides a space for employers to access that help from a broker, to research and compare plans, and to create more affordable approach that works best for their business and their employees. So I don't know if there's additional conversation that we'd like to have before I pass it over to Shaitra, who will just quickly review recent Health Connector for Business trends, but I'll pause for a moment. Okay, hearing none, I'll pass it back over to you, Shaitra.
Thank you, Erin. This slide is a view of our current membership per quarter over the last 18 months. Overall, our enrollment has continued to see upwards growth in both employer groups and membership. Recently, during one of our traditional high enrollment months, April, we surpassed 12,000 members. With an increased focus on communications to renewal groups and platform enhancements for those groups, our retention levels remain at or above 85% on a monthly basis. As a result of both new groups and renewing groups adding dental to their benefit packages, dental membership on the Health Connector for Business has seen a significant increase since January 2022, with a majority of the membership enrolled in a Delta plan and driven by brokers' suggestion to offer. Next slide, please. Erin, can
Sorry, Shaitra, I'm not sure why it's not advancing. Is it advancing for others?
No.
It almost did.
Almost. It went backwards, Erin.
Huh. Yeah. Kathy, are you there? Would you be able to help me out on your side? I know we both have control. I'm sorry, y'all.
I'm trying. Oops, here we go.
One back, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Many small businesses looking for ways to provide affordable health coverage tailored to the needs of their employees have chosen to offer a choice model plan since the beginning of 2022 into 2023. As a reminder, choice models, which allow for an employer to select their cost control reference plan while offering their employees choice of benefit level or network assets through a carrier, account for over 65% of the group and membership enrollment. We're pleased to see this unique purchasing model continue to appeal to small employers. Utilizing these choice models are small groups that come from a very expansive variety of industries, with construction, health services, and engineering accounting services reflecting the highest membership. One industry that still stands out in my experience is the logistics courier industry. During the pandemic, there was an increase in need for evidence of insurance coverage by a well-known distribution company. One of the requirements for logistics companies to be contracted with this distribution company was to provide health insurance to their employees. In a scramble to meet this requirement and provide quality coverage they could afford, Health Connector for Business saw an increase of these small businesses come to the platform for coverage. We were a quick, affordable resolution for this industry in an important time of growth for them. Next slide. Sorry. Next slide. We're having slide issues. There. One back, please.
Try. Let's try it. Nope.
Back. Yep.
I think the board has a hard copy of the
Okay.
slides that were sent out, if that's.
All right. Yep.
You
So
can
we're on.
maybe speak to them, we can look at them, I don't know. I mean, I've had gremlins all day. Eric, you have a question?
Yes, while we were playing with the slides, I thought I'd ask a question. Can you replay the retention rate on the platform? Did you say it was 85%? Like what percent of employers that engage in the small business platform stay?
So on a monthly basis, we have hit at or above 85%. For that renewing month, we stay at or above 85% of groups staying with us.
How's that compare to the individual market? What's our
Right.
retention there?
Good question. We can come back to you with that number. I think it's a different market. As you know, there's a lot of sort of fluidity in the individual market. It could be people moving between jobs, like getting covered through the connector before their ESI kicks in, but we can pull that number for you as just a point of comparison.
Any ideas why the other 15 to 20% would not renew? And that may be something to follow up on. Just because if they can get every carrier and they can get every design, what would be the driver to leave? Because they're just going to go to the same carriers and different designs. Just an open question.
And
Thanks.
Eric, some of the responses are at renewal. They no longer have employees that need health insurance. They may have been going out of business. They may have grown beyond the 50 employees, which we're always very happy to hear for a small business, and we expect them to move on from us. But that's just some of the feedback we get from responses of groups that ask to no longer renew.
Thank you.
And Kathy, I see we're on broker engagement. Thank you so much. So I'm going to move forward. Brokers are the leading source of membership. The number of certified brokers and enrollments from brokers have steadily increased throughout 2022 and 2023. Of the 3,463 new members enrolled during the last 18 months, brokers are responsible for bringing on 2,654 of those members, a 77% share of new membership. Employer surveys conducted on a yearly basis also reflect that employers have opted for help in choosing the best option for their business and employees by utilizing a broker. The Health Connector for Business team has made it a priority to work collaboratively with the broker community to offer affordable solutions to small businesses across the Commonwealth. We conduct regular monthly trainings for brokers, either refresher trainings for existing brokers who have sold through us or want to start selling through us, or trainings for brokers who are completely new to the platform and the program. We also routinely conduct quick training sessions focused on different broker aspects of the Health Connector for Business platform, such as the benefits of Connect Well and the employee choice models, to provide all certified brokers with the knowledge to be able to successfully promote the exclusive benefits and provide quality service to their prospect and current employer groups. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you. Employer awareness of Health Connector for Business has increased through outreach efforts sourced from a variety of distribution channels. The utilization of webinars during the pandemic improved the ability for employers who otherwise couldn't attend in-person presentations to sit in on online educational sessions or view recorded ones later. While in-person events have resumed, webinars still provide convenient delivery of the important messaging Health Connector representatives are presenting on. With the implementation of a social media toolkit created by our communications team, many chambers, business associations, and other business resources are able to share our quarterly webinars hosted by the Connector to their business community, therefore cutting down on the work and time needed for the business resource to host a presentation separately. In-person events and collaborations such as expos, business meetings, and networking sessions allow for Connector representatives to meet with employers and brokers within their community in an effort to continue to increase brand awareness. Paid search remains the strongest performer, driving interested employers and brokers to the website. Also, please note, the ads you are viewing through this PowerPoint are excerpts from a new testimonial piece currently running, which actually includes a broker agency that is not only a certified broker offering coverage to their clients through Health Connector for Business, but they are also an employer offering coverage to their employees through the Health Connector for Business. I just want to point out that partnerships with business associations like the Massachusetts...
It's like Hair Club for Men. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
I love that. Thank you. Partnerships with the business associations like the Massachusetts Restaurant Association, which is displayed on this slide, provides Health Connector for Business the opportunity to deliver personalized service to MRA small business members looking for group health and dental plans, in addition to co-branded educational webinars, panelist workshops, and other outreach exposure. Next slide, please. So as we look forward, we realize membership is growing on the Health Connector for Business, and more employer groups are notating the exclusive choice models as their reason for utilizing Health Connector for Business. The team is looking closer at maximizing what works. What sets Health Connector for Business apart from other sources of health insurance for small businesses in the Commonwealth? Health Connector for Business is being talked about in the grassroots word of mouth fashion of marketing. Brokers, as well as friends and families, have the highest percentage results when groups that enroll with us are asked, how did you hear about us? We will continue to leverage and improve upon our excellent customer service, community networking, and broker relationship building in an effort to become the go-to method for small employers looking to provide quality, affordable health and dental coverage to themselves and their employees. The Health Connector welcomes the opportunity to strategize with the board on how to further promote the cost-saving values of Health Connector for Business. And I'm going to end there.
Thank you very much, Sharita. I really appreciate this presentation and the discussion. We don't have a vote. I think this was really just meant to bring us up to speed. Audrey, I don't know if you have any closing comments for today, but oh wait, do I have to ask for a motion to adjourn or something?
Yes,
Okay.
you do. And I don't think anything to add, but would just echo your thanks for the great discussion today and thank my my colleagues at the Connector who put just an incredible amount of work and care into all the presentations today.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for the update. Okay, Kathy, my last official act, which I'm, but I have to say, I really do appreciate the cheat sheet, except when it blanks out on me. But so I think we're, can I have a motion to adjourn, please? I'll move it.
So moved.
Okay. That one's usually easier to get. Okay. And Kathy, we need a voice vote, right?
That's correct, Secretary. Okay.
Thank you.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Martha. I'll come back. Dimitri,
Yes.
Secretary,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Rena,
Yes.
Martha. She's still on.
I don't see her. Maybe she stepped away, but I think we can still adjourn without a full quorum, right?
Yes.
Okay, well,
Have enough.
thanks. Thank you, everyone. It was great to see you all over Zoom, and have a great summer. When do we meet again, Audrey?
We meet back again in July. We have a few items that always come before the board in July: seal of approval, conditional vote, and our budget, and a couple other items. We'll do another redeterminations update then as well.
Okay, that will probably be meatier than this last one. So we'll see you in July. And thanks to everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.